Hello and welcome to Tap That MTG, the show that we tell you everything we know about Magic the Gathering that's probably wrong but fun to talk about. I am Leslie.
And I'm Shauna.
Today we are bringing you another pre-con deep dive from the Commander Masters set. In this video we're going to break down everything that is on the cards in this deck, talk to you about what the deck is meant to do, how to play it wisely, and if you wait till the end we will offer you a few suggestions on how to tweak the deck. So without further ado, Shauna, what deck are we talking about today?
So we're talking about the Eldrazi Unbound deck that is coming out. You probably don't need to do much tweaking to it because it's Eldrazi. You know, it's big beasties. That's what it does. That's what Eldrazi's do. They come out. They're all colorless. They're often quite expensive because they're quite big, but there's lots of ways to cheat them out for cheaper. And you're going to see that in this deck. So we've got the Commander, which is new. It's a new card. Zulodok, the Void Gorger, for 5 and a colorless, or waste. That's a waste. Sorry, that's a special kind of land called waste. And I think that it's still colorless, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
7/4, or do you have to pay actual waste?
You do, yeah.
You do, but this deck
has to be waste.
Yeah, it has to be a waste. Yeah. So anyways, so this is a 7/4 Eldrazi that says colorless spells you cast from your hand with mana value 7 or greater, which is a lot of these, get cascade. So that means you get to look, when you play it, you get to go through the top of your deck until you come across another card that is less than 7 or less than whatever it is, and then you get to do that again because you get to play it for free. Sorry, I'm really not explaining this very well.
Basically, you're casting an Eldrazi, yes. And then you get to get another Eldrazi from your deck for free, and then another Eldrazi from your deck for free. 3 Eldrazi for 1 cost.
Yeah.
Or colorless spells, I should say.
Yes. So that can be a little bit silly with this deck, especially. So all those things for free. The other commander for this deck is Amarthus, Ghostfire Initiate. It is an XX00, but it enters the battlefield with X +1 counters on it. Whenever you put 1 or more +1 counters on another colorless creature, you may put a +1 counter on this guy. And when it dies, you get to manifest a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of counters on it. So you're going to put 6 into this. And so that would be a 3. No, X is 3. Holy cow, I really can't explain these things very well today. So you get 3 1/1 counters. And yeah, whenever you put 1/1 counters on something else, you get to put it on this guy. And manifest means that you get to put the card onto the battlefield face down.
Yeah.
And it is a 2/2, I believe, as a manifest creature.
Yep.
And then you can pay whenever you can pay the value of the card that's face down. You can turn it face up.
Yeah, which is great because then it can give you like essentially another hand. So you have like your hand that's in your hand, and then on the battlefield you have all these little 2/2 creatures that you can then flip over. You can do that at instant speed as well. So if you know that it's a 7/7, you can wait and flip that over when you're blocking because they think it's just a 2/2. So it's just, yeah, there's a lot of options for it. If it's an instant or sorcery, you can cast it and use it as well. So
yeah. So then Leslie was going to give us a little bit of a breakdown of how this deck's mana curve looks. It's really interesting.
Curve. This has no curve. So mana curve with this deck. We have 5 at 1, 0 to 1, 12 at 2, 10 at 3, 9 at 4, and then we have 2 at 5 and 23 at 6 plus mana cost. Obviously our Eldrazi's are really high, which is okay because when you're cascading you want to be able to play something big to get something that's, you know, equally as big out onto the battlefield. So that is why we have that color breakdown. I don't know. 61 colorless cards and land. There are no colors in this deck, which is actually kind of fun. because this is like the first colorless deck necessarily that I've seen. So card types, we have 1 Planeswalker, 39 land, of course, 29 creatures, 7 sorcery and instant, 1 enchantment, and 23 artifacts. So that's really interesting, actually, that there's only 29 creatures, being such a creature-heavy deck or an Eldrazi-heavy deck. But you do still need those artifacts and enchantments, instants, and sorceries that are also all colorless. So I am excited to show you all about what we have in this deck. But first, we are going to tell you all about how we break down and evaluate. So Sean is going to do that.
Yeah, so we have a little formula that we like to follow. It's, of course, got our commander, and then we've got 15 ramp cards, so mana cards kind of things. And then we've got about 13 card draw you want to have, so you have lots of stuff to choose from. 15 or so removal cards to help you stay in the game, get rid of their stuff, and 12 high impact cards. Those are the cards that are going to win you the game. And about 10 support cards. Those are cards that help you win the game or help your theme. And then we have about 34 lands is about all we think you need. So when we look at the formula versus this deck, we've got some interesting numbers here. So we've got the ramp is about on par. Well, it is on par, 15 and 15. And as far as the card draw goes, we recommend 13. This deck doesn't have very much. It's only at 7. But remember, you've got that cascade thing happening. So that's like card draw, really. Yeah. Which is double there. And then we have removal. Still, it's on par, about 16 compared to 15. High impact game winning cards, there's about 10, but boy, are they good. And then we've got the support. So again, you need to be able to play those Eldrazi's quickly and cheaper. So there's about 13 of those compared to recommended 10. And there are 38 lands. And yeah, that's maybe quite a bit there, but they are really, really good lands in this deck. Yes, and there are lands that a lot of them let you play are 2 colorless mana, or let you pay less for your Eldrazi's, or let you draw cards. So there are some really, really good lands in this deck that are really going to help you. So you may not want to cut very many there, but we'll see.
Yeah. So as far as our first section, we're going to talk about ramp and mana generators. So our formula, of course, calls for 15. As Shauna said, we have 15. Burnished Art is our first one. It's a 2/2 elk creature. For 3, you can pay 3 and sacrifice it to search your library for 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. I believe waste is considered a basic land. So that would be your basic land in this deck, your waste.
Alrighty, and then you have the Oblivion Sower, which is for 6, a 5/8. When you cast the spell, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of their library. Then you may put any number of land cards that player owns from exile onto the battlefield under your control.
Nice.
Steal
their land. That's mean.
That is.
Ornithopter of Eldrazi's. Let's just put this out there right now. We're playing Eldrazi's. It's me. Yeah. Ornithopter of Paradise for flying. It's a flying. Add 1 mana of any color or colorless. It's a 0/2. Little mana dork.
Yes, and here's a really great Palladium Myr for 3. It taps for 2 colorless, or it's 2 wastes. If you want to get specific, it taps for 2 wastes. So that's kind of nice, right? Yeah. Those are wastes.
Yeah. No, those are colorless.
Those are colorless. I can never remember the symbol.
I know it is weird because they have the wastes have the same symbol, but a waste card is still a waste. So it's still a colorless land. It produces colorless. But if it has that symbol in the thing plus the little circle, then you need a waste, you can use it for as well as color. Okay. So yeah. You can't use that for.
You can use it for your commander.
Yeah. So Scare Tiller for 4. When it becomes tapped, you choose 1. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, and then return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you choose 1 of those. So you have some options.
And it's nice that they put the Solemn Simulacrum in here for 4. It's a 2/2. That when you enter the battlefield, you may search your library for the basic land, and when it dies, you can draw a card. So there's a little bit of card draw extra there for you too. That isn't included.
Yeah. And Dreamstone Hedron. This deck, when you play things like Soul Ring or Dreamstone Hedron, usually in Commander, it's tough because you still need all your colors, and these, of course, are producing colorless mana. But in this deck, it's almost like your mana rocks are going that much further because you can use them for anything. This one produces 3 colorless, and then you can pay 3 colorless and sacrifice it to draw 3 cards. So a little bit of both categories there.
Yeah. Everflowing Chalice. It's a 0 cost artifact, but you're going to want to kick it. So it has multi-kicker of 2. So for every 2 that you pay additionally to this, when you cast the spell, it enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked. So as many times as you can. And then you can therefore then add a colorless mana for each charge counter on it. So hopefully 3, 4, whatever, you're going to be able to use it for lots of mana there.
Yeah. This is a great little artifact for this deck. Forsaken Monument is a 5 mana cost legendary artifact. Colorless creatures you control get +2/+2, and whenever you tap a permanent for colorless, add an additional colorless. So it just basically, like your Dreamstone Hedron that you tapped for 3 colorless, now adds an additional colorless, which is fantastic. It's 4. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, you gain 2 life. So, many things. So many things.
Hedron Archive. It's a 4 mana cost artifact that taps for 2 colorless. There you go again. And again, you can pay 2 and sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. So a little bit of card draw there too. Again. Yay.
Yeah. Mind Stone, pretty basic, taps for 1 colorless, and you can pay 1, sacrifice it to draw a card.
Soul Ring taps for that 2 colorless. You're going to need it in this deck, that's for sure.
Thought Vessel, no maximum hand size. You probably won't need that as much. There is some card draw, but it's not going to fill your hand up, I don't think. No. But you can add 1. I don't know, maybe because you won't be playing all of your cards at once, you might need no maximum hand size, but it taps for 1 colorless. So.
Have to try it out and see. Thran Dynamo for 4. It taps for 3 colorless mana.
Crazy. And Worn Power Stone enters the battlefield tapped, but it taps for 2. So.
Whew. Craziness. All right, so then we go. So you saw lots of card draw in there, so that affects this number a little bit. So it's actually a little bit more, but you don't really want to sacrifice your 3.
Nope.
Your little artifacts. But we've got the formula calls for 13, and the deck has about 7 outside of those ones. So the Endbringer is our first one. It's a 5/5 for 5 and a waste. You can untap the Endbringer during each other player's untap step. And its tap ability is you can tap it and deal 1 damage to any target, or you can pay a waste and tap it and target creature can't attack or block this turn. Or you can pay 2 and tap it to draw a card. So potentially you could be doing that on everyone's turn. Nice.
And then Matter Reshaper, when it dies, you reveal the top card of your library. You may put that card onto the battlefield if it's a permanent card with mana value 3 or less. Otherwise, put it into your hand. You're probably not going to end up putting it on the battlefield. Remember what our mana non-curve looked like. But maybe you might get a mana rock or something out there for free, which is great. And if not, it's going to fill your hand back up. So
land counts as well. You could put a land out. Then we have going back to our secondary commander. Don't really need to explain that again, but it can be a card draw for you.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And Endless Atlas for 2 is a little artifact. You can pay 2 to draw a card, activate only when you control 3 or more lands with the same name. So that's going to be your wastes, your basic lands. Once you get 3 out, they have the same name, then you can do that. Easy.
Yeah. I really like Investigator's Journal card for 2. It is a little clue artifact that says it enters the battlefield with a number of suspect counters on it equal to the greatest number of creatures a player controls. So it doesn't have to be you. It could be that other person over there, and they have 10 creatures. You're going to put 10 suspect counters on this, and then you can pay 2 and tap this and remove a suspect counter from it to draw a card. And then when it doesn't have any counters on it left, you can pay 2 and sacrifice this card and draw a card. So I really like this card. This is a underrated card in my opinion.
And it's a book. I mean, look at that art.
It's very nice.
Maze Tome for 2. This is a great little card. You can tap it to put a page counter on it and scry, so you get some knowledge. If you want to pay some mana, you can pay 2 and tap it, put a page counter on it, and draw a card. And if you need a Hail Mary, you can, if there's 4 or more page counters on it, you can exile it and gain 4 life.
Mystic Forge for 4. It is an artifact that says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast artifact spells and colorless spells from the top of your library. This deck is going to really like that. And you can pay 1 life and exile the top card of your library. So you need to get that land out of the way. Go ahead and pay a life. There you go.
Cool. And now we're on to our removal section, which there are 16 of. Our formula calls for 15, so we're right where we need to be there. Ugin the Ineffable is our first one and our only planeswalker in this deck. For 6, you get a 4 mana cost planeswalker. That is basically their life when they come in. Colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. So that's going to help you with your mana as well. You can pay 1 and exile the top card of your library face down. And look at it. That creates a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token. When that token leaves the battlefield, then you put the exile card into your hand. So basically it gets you a little bit of card draw as well. And then -3, once you have enough loyalty counters on it to keep it alive, you can destroy target permanent that's 1 or more colors. So punish them for having some color in their deck.
Then we have Bane of Balaged. It's a 7/5 for 7 colorless. Whenever it attacks, a defending player exiles 2 permanents they control. Yeah.
That's so dumb.
It's kind of high impact there, really, honestly. It could be
there's a few things in here that we're like, we'll put them in removal because they are removal, but they're very high impact. So they could also go in the high impact section. So anyways, again, just like the card draw and the mana have overlap, so does this. It That Betrays is another one that is like probably high impact because it's a 12 mana cost 11/11 with Annihilator 2. So Annihilator, whenever this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices 2 permanents. So if they don't have any creatures or enchantments or artifacts, they're sacrificing land. So Annihilator is permanent. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put a card onto the battlefield under your control. So not only are they sacrificing it, you're stealing it. That's just such great removal and really a jerk thing to do.
That's
you're
why
not playing Eldrazi to be your friend.
No, you're not. Meteor Golem, it's the lovely little 3/3, 7 cost artifact that we like to play because when it enters the battlefield, you get to destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls. Doesn't matter what, just pick one.
And Steel Hellkite, this is another one that could very well be a high impact card. For 6, you get a 5/5. It's flying, so it's going to be easy to swing in. You can pay 2 to give it +1/+0 on your turn, so it has fire breathing. And you can pay X to destroy each non-land permanent with a mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate only once each turn. So deciding who you're going to go in for, making sure you have enough mana, paying the mana value, and then destroying each of the permanents with a mana value of X is just crazy.
Just for one person. So like you're just being mean to
that
one
person that you attacked. Target.
All is Dust. This is a 7 cost sorcery that is the type Eldrazi as well. Each player sacrifices all permanents they control that are 1 or more colors. So one-sided for you, in favor of you. You're going to board wipe everything else.
Love one-sided board wipes. Calamity of Titans for 4, and then of course the waste symbol. As an additional cost to cast this spell, reveal a colorless treasure card. or sorry,
Creature
a colorless creature card. Well, it's a treasure. A colorless creature card from your hand. So you're going to have to reveal a creature card from your hand if you want to cast the spell, but you get to exile each creature or planeswalker with a mana value less than the revealed card's mana value. Remember, all of your Eldrazi are 7+.
Desecrate Reality. I think this is a new card for 7. It's an instant that says for each opponent, exile up to 1 target permanent that player controls with an even mana value. 0 is even. And then if you cast it during one of your main phases, or is it just your first one? I can't remember. Leslie, for Adamant, is it just your first?
It's just it says what it is there. No, no, it's any. It has to do with the colors. Yeah.
Okay. The Adamant piece. If at least 3 colorless mana was spent to cast this spell, return a permanent card with an odd mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that could be bad.
Mm-hmm. Not of This World is a 7 mana cost tribal instant Eldrazi. It's weird because it's an Eldrazi, but it's an instant, so it's not a creature. Counter target spell or ability that targets a permanent you control. So a counter spell that's colorless. What? This spell costs 7 less to cast if it targets a spell or ability that targets a creature you control with a power 7 or greater. So it's a free counter spell that's colorless.
Mm-hmm. Because they're going to be trying to get rid of your Emrakul or something.
Yeah.
Nope. Then we have Spatial Contortion for 1 and a waste. It is target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn. Use it to remove something.
What is up with those arms? Look at those arms.
It's so weird. That's Nisa, looks like, with weird arms.
I mean, it's the Spatial Contortion, obviously. Yeah. That makes sense, but it's really weird. Titan's Presence for 3 is an instant. As an additional cost to the spell, you have to reveal a colorless creature from your hand. Then you exile target creature that's power less than or equal to the revealed card's power. So a lot of revealing. You do need to have some stuff in your hand to use these things. So remember that.
Warping Whale, it's for 1 and a waste. It's an instant that says choose 1, exile target creature with power or toughness 1 or less. Counter target sorcery spell. Or create a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion. Those are little tokens that you can use to sacrifice to add a waste. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a weird little counter spell, basically. Mm-hmm.
And then Kaldra Compleat for 7. This is a living weapon, and I love living weapons. So it's indestructible first and foremost. That means not that your creature is indestructible, that this living weapon is indestructible. And then equipped creature gets +5/+5, has first strike, trample, indestructible, haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. So living weapon means that when it comes onto the battlefield, you're going to create a little germ that's attached to it. So it already has a little creature attached to it, but then you can pay 7 and equip it to anything else. You're going to want to do that because you're going to want to put it on one of your big dudes.
Mm-hmm. That could be a high impact card as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to deal with. Then we have Perilous Vault. It's for 4, an artifact that says pay 5 and exile the vault and exile all non-land permanents. So a board wipe that you're going to have sitting there, threatening people, a little bit of passive aggressiveness going on.
Yeah.
Touch me, I exile everything. Leave me alone.
Yeah, well, and sometimes people get rid of a bunch of your stuff and then you're left with stuff that you don't care about. So it's like, I'm just going to do a board wipe then. Fine.
Fine.
Transmogrifying Wand is a fun one for 3. When it enters the battlefield, you put 3 charge counters on it. Then you can pay 1, tap it, remove a charge counter from Transmogrifying Wand, and destroy target creature. Its controller gets a 2/4 white ox creature token, activate only as a sorcery. So you're going to pay 1 and basically turn something into an ox 3 different times for 3. It's actually a really powerful card.
Unstable Obelisk. It is a 3-cost artifact that can be tapped for mana, but a little importantly here, for 7, you can sacrifice it to destroy a target permanent. Probably going to want to do that.
Yeah. All right, as if those weren't high impact enough, we're getting into even higher
Yep.
impact cards. So here we go. Our formula calls for 12. There's around 10 is what we identified. The first one is Kozilek, the Great Distortion for 8 and 2 wastes 12, 12. When you cast the spell, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. It's going to get stuff back in your hand. We did have this in card draw because of that, but because it just does so much and it's so big, it has menace, so it's going to be hard to block. And you can discard a card with a mana value X to counter target spell with mana value X. Just so much that Kozilek can do for you.
Yeah. Ancient Stone Idol, it's a 12/12 as well for 10, but it has flash and it costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. So you're attacking with a bunch of Eldrazi's or whatever, you can flash this out for cheap, and it has trample. A 12/12 with trample is really important. And when it dies, you get to create a 6/12 construct artifact creature token with trample as well. So it's not going to go away anytime soon, really, honestly.
Even better, if they're swinging in with 10 creatures, you can cast it during their attack phase.
Yes, you can. Good point. Thank you for adding that.
Artisan of Kozilek is a 9 mana cost 10/9. When you cast the spell, you may return target creature card from your graveyard, not to your hand, but to the battlefield. It also has Annihilator too. We talked about that. When this creature attacks, they're going to sacrifice 2 permanents. So gross.
And the fact that you can return one of your big things to the battlefield for free, right? If
you
discarded it, awesome. Kozilek or something, and you get to return it. Flare of Loyalty is a 10/10 for the 8 and 2 wastes. It's the Eldrazi that says when you cast this spell, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature until end of turn. It is a 10/10 all of a sudden and gains trample, and Annihilator 2 and haste. And this guy has Annihilator 2 and trample. Trample on these big guys is so bad.
Ugh. Yeah. And that stupid Annihilator. Hangerback Walker for XX is a 0/0. It comes into the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. So if you choose to tap 6 mana, that's 3/3. So X is 3. When Hangerback Walker dies, you create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying for each 1/1 counter on Hangerback Walker. And you can just pay 1 to put a 1/1 counter on Hangerback Walker once it's out. So get it out at a small mana cost and then just keep buffing it up, making it bigger and bigger, and then creating Thopters that you need when it dies.
Yeah. It's just a good card. Metalwork Colossus. For 11, it's a 10/10. It costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of non-creature artifacts you control. So all those little mana rocks and stuff are going to help make this free. And you can sacrifice 2 artifacts and return it from your graveyard to your hand to do it all over again. I love that card.
Then we have a very high impact sorcery, Rise of the Eldrazi for 12, but this spell can't be countered. You're going to destroy target permanent. Then you're going to target player draws 4 cards. You're going to choose yourself. And then take an extra turn after this one. So you've gone through all of your combat phase, you've done all kinds of things, and then you play this and you decide to take an extra turn, and then you just start it all over again and swing. So great.
Darksteel Monolith, it's for 8, an artifact that is indestructible. It'll be hard for them to get rid of. And it says, once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a colorless spell you cast from your hand.
That's so good. So good.
Yeah.
Oh,
think about that, folks.
Yeah. That's crazy. Crazy. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's early morning for us. Lightning Greaves for 2. This one we have in the high impact because not only does it give something haste, it gives it shroud, which also means you can't target it. So just a thought there. But its equip is 0, so you can easily equip it to whichever Eldrazi you need to equip it to. You do have to equip it sorcery speed on your turn, but it's just a great way to get something hasty and protect it from anything that's happening or targeting.
Yeah, play that free big guy and and swing with it right away. Mirage Mirror, it's a 3 cost artifact that in this deck I think is going to be extremely powerful because all you have to do is pay 2 and it becomes a copy of a target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. You can use it for stuff on their board that you really like, definitely stuff on your board, just depends, and it's at instant speed whenever you need it. Doesn't have to tap or anything. It's going to be really, really useful for you in this deck in particular.
Cray. And then we're on to our support section. Our formula calls for 10. The deck has 13. These are cards that are going to support your overall theme, help your high impact cards, and perhaps just do some really good stuff to fill your deck out. So abstruse, archaic,
I think.
For 4, it is a 3/4 with vigilance. You can pay 1 and copy target activated or triggered ability you control from a colorless source. You may choose new targets for a copy, so that can be handy.
Crashing Drawbridge, it's a 0/4 defender, but you can tap it to give your creatures haste until end of turn. You really want haste with these guys.
Yeah. Duplicate for 6 has imprint. When duplicate enters the battlefield, you can exile a target non-token creature, and as long as a card exiled with duplicate is a creature card, duplicate has the power and toughness of that creature type that duplicate has the power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature card exiled with duplicate. It's still a shapeshifter. So basically, you're going to exile a creature underneath it and turn it into that card.
Yeah. Turn it into something good. Endless One, 0/0 enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. It's just an Eldrazi, whatever you need. Put X into it.
Yep. Geode Golem for 5 is a trample 5/3, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast your commander from the command zone without what? Paying its mana cost? What? Now, if you do choose the, you have to put mana into something in order for the X to count. So thinking about our other commander, if you do choose Armathis as your commander, it's XX. You don't want to cast that from the command zone for free because then it would be a 0/0.
Yep.
Food for thought.
Myriad Construct. It is a 4/4 for 4 with kicker 3. And if you kick it, it enters with a +1 counter on it for each non-basic land your opponents control. And when it becomes the target of a spell, you get to sacrifice and create a number of 1/1 colorless construct artifact creatures equal to its power. Yeah. So 4 for sure, plus some other stuff. Yeah. If you kick it.
And as if Eldrazi weren't enough, we got to throw some Phyrexian in here. So Phyrexian Triniform for 9 is a 9/9. When it dies, you create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact token. It has Encore 12, which means you can, as we said before, exile cards from your graveyard. For each opponent, create a token that's a copy that attacks that opponent this turn if able. They gain haste, sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. And again, remember when you're talking about this deck, if you have, the other deck we just talked about, Slivers, had Encore. Never mind.
That's okay.
We've done so many decks, they're all blending together.
They're all blending together. So the fact that you sacrifice all these token ones, you're going to get another 3 tokens. It's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Be fairly high impactful, actually. Skittering Cicada, or whatever, however, I think that's how you say it. 2/2 for 3. It's a little insect, a little bug that has flash, and you may cast colorless spells as though they had flash. Oh no! Whenever you cast a colorless spell until end of turn, this little dude gains trample and +X/+X, where X is that spell's mana value. All of a sudden, your little bug is big.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because we've established that in the villain universe, Soul or Phyrexians and Eldrazi are essentially the same thing. Soul of New Phyrexia for 6 is a 6/6. It has trample. You can pay 5, and permanents you control gain indestructible till the end of turn. You're going to need that to protect from board wipes. And then a 5 mana, you pay 5 and you exile Soul of New Phyrexia from your graveyard. Permanents you control gain indestructible until the end of turn. So not only does it happen if it's on the battlefield, you can then do it once from your graveyard as well, which is fantastic.
Then we have the little stone coil serpent. I believe that was from Throne of Eldraine, and another underestimated card in my opinion. It is a little X snake that has reach, trample, and protection from multicolored. You'd be surprised how many times that protection has been helpful. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. And it has reach and trample.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And we have a suspicious bookcase in this deck, and everyone needs a suspicious bookcase. It's a Defender 0/4 that you can pay 3 and target creature can't be blocked this turn. Yay, unblockable. Yay. Is there a Rogue's Passage in this deck?
I think so.
I'll look. Keep you.
Okay. Fire Shrieker is a little artifact and equipment that costs 3. And your equipped creature has double strike. And equip is only 2 cost. So you can put this on one of your big dudes with trample and kill a player, pretty much. Because double strike on a 10/10 is pretty darn awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
Crazy. There is a Rogue's Passage. We'll talk about that when we get to land.
Okay.
Ugin's Mastery. Whenever you cast a colorless creature spell, manifest the top card of your library. So that is basically you're going to put it face down, and it is a 2/2 creature, but you can turn it up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. So that allows you to kind of cast those creatures. You have a secondary hand. We've talked about that. Then whenever you attack with creatures with a total power of 6 or greater, that's added up, you may turn a face down creature you control face up. So all you have to do now is attack and get your Eldrazi's that you've manifested flipped over for free.
Yep.
Great way to cheat out Eldrazi.
Yes. So it could potentially be a pretty high impact card, but it's very, what's the word? I can't think of the word.
Powerful.
It's hard to make it happen. It's powerful, but it's hard to make it happen.
Oh, conditional.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Conditional.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's early. Well, kind of. Not really, but it is.
Yeah.
We're tired. Okay. All right. So then we're on to the land. So as we were saying, the land in this deck, there's 38 of them. But the formula calls for 34. But the lands in this deck are pretty important for this deck.
Yes.
So like Leslie just said, the Rogue's Passage, making your Eldrazi, one of your Eldrazi cards unblockable would be really good. There's also ones that let you draw cards. There's also ones that, like the Arch of Orska lets you draw a card for 5. There's also ones that pay 2 colorless, which is really good in this deck, obviously. And ones like the Arcane Lighthouse, which adds the mana, but you can also pay 1 and tap it until end of turn. Your creatures and your opponent's control lose their Hexproof and Shroud and can't have Hexproof and Shroud. So really some good lands that are really going to help you control the game a little bit and be able to get to your high-end cards that are going to win you the game. So your lands are doing a lot of work.
And I mean, gosh, it's got Urza's Mine, Power Plant, and Tower, which then if you have all 3 out, they double and triple the mana that they produce. Even like Tomb of the Spirit Dragon, you can pay 2, gain 1 life for each colorless creature you control. So there's lots of great land, and I think in this deck particularly is the one that you're going to want to make sure that you use your land as a resource to tap for other things as well. So
really pay attention to that.
Yeah.
That brings us to our tweaks section. So we've got a few for you. The very first one is the lovely Eldrazi Monument, which is a 5-cost artifact that says creatures you control get +1/+1 and flying and indestructible. Yeah. At the beginning of each of your upkeep, though, you have to sacrifice a creature, and if you can't, you have to sacrifice the monument. So but that's okay. You can do it. Very useful.
Ugin the Spirit Dragon we thought would be good for this because, I mean, you have Eldrazi and Phyrexians. Why not have an Ugin? So 8 mana cost for a 7/7. Ugin the Spirit Dragon deals 3 damage to any target. So there's some nice little targeted removal if you need it. You can minus X it and exile each permanent with converted mana cost of X or less that is 1 or more colors. So that is fantastic for you because your stuff is all colorless. So it doesn't matter. You can choose whatever you want and get rid of the board. And then -10, you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield for free. So Ugin the Spirit Dragon is kind of expensive, but really a great option for this deck.
Turn 3 after that, you've got it. Right?
Yeah.
On the 3rd turn, they don't deal with it. Ulamog's Crusher. It is an 8/8 for 8 with Annihilator 2. He has to attack every combat, but you don't care. It's a big guy. Yeah. It's just going to do work for you.
Yeah. And we thought maybe the Immortal Sun might be a good addition for 6. Players can activate Planeswalker loyalty abilities, which may be irrelevant for you. But at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card. So some additional card draw would be great. We did say that this deck is lacking a little bit on card draw, depending on what you're using your mana rocks for. Spells cost 1 colorless less to cast, so helping with your mana. And creatures you control get +1/+1. So it could do a lot of things for you if you put it in this deck.
Yeah. Or if you play against that Planeswalker deck, it's a good way to shut it down.
Yeah.
Go watch that video. Omen Machine. It's for 6, an artifact that says players can't draw cards. What? But at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. If it's a land card, the player puts it on to the battlefield. Otherwise, the player casts it without paying its mana cost to Fable. It's going to be really nice for you.
So, I mean, it is also going to be nice for them. And it's going to be the same for both of you, but hopefully you'll have more value because you're cheating out Eldrazi's and they might only be cheating out their little, like, 1/1/2/2 vampires.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, we have Idol of Oblivion in here. I don't know why I put that in there. Conduit of Ruin. For 6 mana cost is a 5/5. Whenever you cast it, Conduit of Ruin, you may search your library for a colorless creature with converted mana cost of 7 or greater. Reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. So you can go and tutor. The first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. So could be some help.
Sure. Eldrazi Mimic. Whenever another colorless creature enters a battlefield under your control, you can change this little guy into having the same base power and toughness of that creature until end of turn. Oh, darn. It's now a 10/10. Oh, dear.
Yeah. And, of course, we couldn't talk about Eldrazi's without talking about the crazy ones
Ulamog.
here. Is Ulamog in here? Why is that?
It's not in here. No.
Okay. Why does it have the symbol? Weird.
Because it comes with the regular.
Oh, it's in the set. Okay, you can open this one up in Commander Masters.
Yep.
So Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger for 10. It's a 10/10. When you cast a spell, exile 2 target permanents, so it has some removal. He's indestructible in and of himself. Whenever Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunter, attacks, a defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library. So this is really going to be gross. If you have it or if you can get it, it would be a great addition to this deck, though.
And Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. When you cast the spell, draw 4 cards. It's a 12/12 for 10 with Annihilate 4. And when it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into their library.
Yeah.
Never goes
all those
away.
Things that died.
Honestly.
Just go back into your library. Honestly. Yeah. And then our last kind of shout out is the one, the only, Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, the queen, the mother hive of all Eldrazi.
Long time ago.
For 15, it's a 15/15. It cannot be countered. When you cast the spell and you get an extra turn after this one, it has flying, protection from spells that are 1 or more colors. All of them. It has Annihilator 6. as a flyer. And when Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, is put into your graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles the graveyard into its library. So every ability that is good on any Eldrazi is on this Eldrazi, because of course she is the mother of all Eldrazi's. So crazy.
Oh, so thanks for watching. You made it to our crazy Eldrazi deck review here. So thanks for hanging out with us. If you have this deck, it's kind of crazy to play. Check out our other videos as well. And we're available on YouTube. You found us here, and on Twitch, but you can also connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to see what you would do with this deck or how it plays for you. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime,
tap those magic cards and have fun doing it. See you guys.
Thanks everyone.